Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Anida Sunabila. I'm from 7th group. In this video, I will explain about syntax with my friends Dominguez Holo. First, I will explain about what is syntax. Syntax is the part of the grammar that represents a speaker's knowledge of this structure and their formation called syntax. The word syntax comes originally from Greek and literally means a putting together or arrangement. When we set out to provide an analysis of the syntax of language, we try to adhere to the all and only criterion. This means that our analysis, if we write rules for the creation of well-formed structures, we have to check that those rules, when applied logically, won't also lead to ill-formed structure. Another goal of synthetic analysis, which is to have a small and finite set of rules that will be capable of producing a large and potentially infinite number of well-formed structures. This small and finite set of rules is sometimes described as a generative grammar because it can be used to generate or produce sentence structures and not just describe them. This type of grammar should also be capable of revealing the basic of two other phenomena. The first, how some superficially different sentences are closely related. And the second, how some superficially similar sentences are in fact different. For the next topic is deep and surface structure. The two superficially different sentences are shown in this example. The first example is Charlie broke the window. In traditional grammar, the first called an active sentence, focusing on what Charlie did. And the second is the window was broken by Charlie. The second is passive sentence, focusing on the window and what happened to it. And the distinction between them is a difference in their surface structures. That is, the different syntactic form they have as individual English sentences. Next is deep structure. This other underlying level where the basic component, noun phrase plus verb plus noun phrase served by the two sentences can be represented is called their deep structure. The deep structure is an abstract level of structural organization in which all the elements determining structural interpretation are represented. And for the third topic is structural ambiguity. A sentence that has two distinct underlying interpretations that have to be represented differently in deep structure. The example for it is, let's say we have two distinct deep structure. One expresses the idea that Annie had an umbrella and she bumped into a man with it. And the other expresses that the idea that Annie bumped into a man and the man happened to be carrying an umbrella. Now, these two different versions of event can actually be expressed in the same surface structure form, like Annie bumped into a man with an umbrella. For the fourth topic is recursion. The rules of the grammar will also need to crucial property of recursion. Recursive, or it means repeatable any number of times. Rules have the capacity to be applied more than 98, and the students of language wants in generating in a structure. In principle, there is no end to the recursion that would produce a far longer version of complex sentences with this structure. And basically, the grammar will have to capture the fact that a sentence can have another sentence inside it or that a phrase can be repeated as often as required. For the next topic is tree diagram.
One of the most common ways to create a visual representation of synthetic structures is through the diagrams. We can use the symbols known process to label parts of the tree as we tree capture the hierarchical organization of those parts in the underlying structures, process, and sentence. For example, this type of tricycle organization can illustration in a tree diagram for a word sentence beginning at the top with the symbol used in analysis. There are more symbols that are commonly used in syntax description. The first is the fault of an error. It can be interpreted as conscious of rewritten. It is typically used in the following type of rule. It is important to remember that although there are the consistence inside the curly brackets, only one then can be selected on any equation. The list of common symbols and abbreviation is summarized here. Process structure rules. The second approach is very appealing because it will enable use to generate a very large number of sentences with what look like a very small number of rows.
According to this rule, a noun phrase rewrites as an article followed by a noun. The first rule in the following set of simple and necessarily incomplete phrases structure rules state that a sentence rewrites as a noun phrase and a verb phrase. The second rule states that a noun phrase rewrites as either an article plus an optional adjective plus a noun or a pronoun or a proper noun. The other rules follow a similar pattern.
Routledge in order to torch those structures in recognizable English, we also need lexical routes that specify which word can be used when we write constituents such as an movement routes. A very small set of sentence structure routes can be started as a presentation of deep sentence structure, or in English. In order to talk about this process, we need to explain our process structure roles in cloud in actually words as part of the sentence. We also need a legal rules that specifies the basic formats of the word fields, so as the tears rewrites rule below. Back to recursion. The sample process structure rules listed earlier have no recursive element each time we start to create an S. We only create a single S sentence structure. Complement process. The words way they are used in this examples is called a complementizer. The, the truly of that as a complementizer is introduce a complementary process. We are now in a position to define a TP and the following way. A complement process referred as a complementizer, and a sentence or TPTRs. This means that we can, in principle, use this rootless grid and endless sentence containing order sentence structures. In practice, it allows you to draw the following three diagrams and provide a clear presentation of the syntax structures of this one fairly complex sentence. Maybe that's thank you very much.